most problems that an individual has, they have the solution within themselves. And they have some sort of block that keeps them from finding that solution. My name is Izi Chinchay. I'm a soccer coach, podcast host, entrepreneur, and today I'm going to be talking about lessons I've learned about leadership and kind of the evolution of my perspective and how I show up, as a leader now versus how I did 5, even 10 years ago. Because I think even as a kid, I always viewed myself as a leader and I always wanted to be a leader. But in my mind, even as a kid and even through high school and college, I viewed a leader as someone who was, told people what to do, told them how to do it, and just inspired them and coached them and told them, like, this is what you got to do and this is how you're going to do it. And as the years have gone on, I've realized the most effective leadership that I have seen work in my life, and that I've followed and I've seen people follow from me is simply just by setting a good example. And so I think example leadership is the highest form of leadership. Now, it manifests in a lot of different ways. And, you can be a leader and there are different types of leadership, like servant leadership, vocal leadership, right? But ultimately for me, setting a good example is the most effective way to lead. Because if I can show someone how to do something versus tell them, and I can show them without even telling them to watch me do it, but versus they're just like, oh, I've been seeing you do that, and now I want to do that. Now I want to be more like that. That for me is the biggest win, because I think I just know how I am naturally. When someone tells me what to do and how to do something, I don't enjoy it. I don't like being told what to do. It's it literally does the opposite. If someone tells me what to do, I'm like, now I can't do it because you told me to do it. So it's over. It's not happening. In a lot of circumstances, not everything, but in a lot. I just don't like being told what to do. And I've noticed that there are other people who are like that they just don't like being told what to do. So the worst thing for me to do if I genuinely care about this person and I want to help them, whether it's in their relationship, if it's with their workouts, if it's with their diet, if it's with their business, the worst thing for me to do is be like, hey, you need to be doing this better. You need to stop doing this. You got to do it this way. You got to do it in this timeline. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. Even if that's true, that's not an effective way for me to lead, at least that type of person. The person who's they just don't like to be told what to do. You can feel them get defensive. As soon as you say something, they get defensive. They're like, well, the reason I don't do it that way is, well, you know the kind of person I'm talking about. Or maybe you are that kind of person. It's good to realize that about yourself. Be like, okay, I'm realizing a little bit about me. But, I'm a coach, so I coach people. That's what I do. That's my main job. I am a coach. And I start to realize that, there are a lot of different types of people and they all need to be led differently, right? Dependent on what kind of category they fall into. But overall, it's much easier to teach someone who already desires your outcome. They desire to be more like you because they want what you have. So when I come across that person who's very resistant to just being told exactly what to do, my way to navigate that is to ask them questions. Ask them as many questions as possible. Ask them about what they want. Ask them about why they want it. Ask them why they think they don't have it, or what they think is stopping them from getting what it is that they want. So you can kind of bring them to their own conclusion that they're like, oh, I actually do want this. And then if you can get them to ask you, well, how do I do it like that? and then you don't immediately tell them what it is. You don't say you should do it like this because that will work. You ask them another question about that question that they had. Then they're like, oh, they're asking me, and it like tames them down a little bit. And then from there, it's like, okay, well, I think that maybe you should do this. You keep your end really, really short. And I used to not know that. I did not know that technique at all. I would just only be like, this is what you need to do. And if you're not going to do it, you're just going to lose, because look what's happening now. And if you don't change anything, that's like obvious. Not everyone responds well to that. Most people don't, in fact. Surprising, I know. And there are people who actually do they just really like to be told exactly what to do, when to do it, when it needs to be done, all the things, right? They just want to know exactly what it is that they need to do. That's fine. They're kind of easier to just manage and tell them what it is that they need to do and when it needs to be done by. As ones that are a little bit adverse to be authority and being told what to do, I found that technique is really helpful. And I would say that's probably been the biggest shift, because I realized like coaching really is leadership. And like I said, first and foremost, I truly believe my highest calling in this life is to be a coach, is to coach people. And coaching has so much more to do with asking and listening than it does anything else. Because someone can tell you, well, I'm frustrated with this, and it's actually not even a thing that they're frustrated with, but you have no idea because you didn't sit there and ask enough questions to really understand what their problem is. Because I'm a believer, because I've seen it many times, that most problems that an individual has, they have the solution within themselves. And they have some sort of block or misunderstanding or limiting belief that keeps them from finding that solution. So my job as a coach is to simply mirror and be able to get them to get around this obstacle and say, hey, hold up a mirror for them, look at it and be like, hey, you had this answer the whole time. This really wasn't me. You had the answer. And I think I used to think coaching was more about me just being a really great coach, just telling them exactly what to do. And the truth is, it's actually not that effective way of coaching. A more effective way of coaching is actually allowing them to find the answer within themselves, because then they have conviction and they have the feelings behind the understanding of what needs to get done in order to get it done in a very effective way. So if you are a coach or you want to be a coach, I would encourage you to continue to dive in to listening and asking better questions. Now, it's different in the sports world because sports, like with my actual students I coach in person, they need to be told exactly what to do and when to do it. But when they have a block with a relationship matter with a teammate, with a coach, with a team transfer, when they have a mental block on the field, they feel they are not improving in the way that they want to, that's something where like that very high level skilled coaching comes in. And it's really all about digging into the right questions and holding up a mirror at the right time for that person to be open to receive, listen, hear, and understand what it is that they have. And I used to not tap into that because I was just like, well, you just need to do this and this, and then you're going to, get that done, and then you're going to have the result. That's irrelevant to the solution, because a great coach coaches a person on how they need to be coached. And no one's the same. And everyone has different pasts and has different histories and have different reasons as to why they have all these limiting beliefs. So as a coach, all you're trying to do is get someone out of their own way so that they can get to their solution and have the conviction and the drive and the dedication and the commitment to achieve their goals. At least that's how I view my coaching. And, even when I work with my kids on their recruitment, I teach them, I'm doing that with them too, because I think that's where we get the best results. But ultimately, I think, my highest calling probably is just, coaching in that space. And eventually I think I'll want to be like life coaching full time, because that's what I love. I love helping people figure out how to get out of their own way and solve their own solutions. But I think as I've gotten older, it's just the realization that, to be a leader is to be a coach. And and to listen really well and ask really good questions and follow up with questions and lean in at the right time and make people feel heard and make people feel understood, because that's what everyone wants. And when people are heard and understood, they're much more likely to then listen to you. And even if the other way, your goal is still the same, is to help this person achieve their goals, help this person get the result, take them from A to B. It makes sense to do it in the way that is the smoothest. And I used to think, delivery didn't matter as much as it does. That doesn't mean that, you lie to people or manipulate people, but delivery is very, very important, at least I've seen in my life. So those are probably some of the, my biggest perspective shifts on leadership and coaching, and why both those are super important, and why it's really important for me to always view myself as a leader, because it's much harder. It's much harder to be a leader. And if you don't view yourself like as a leader, then it's easier to, fall to the level of everyone around you, or fall to the level of, people that you are trying to coach and you are trying to bring up. But if you view yourself as a leader in any group that, you step into, then you are automatically holding yourself to a higher standard to show up in a different way. And I think about that even if I'm going to some sort of social event. Am I viewing myself as a leader in this moment right now? And a lot of times it's like, no, I'm just like, I gotta, whatever, like, I'm not being a contributor, I'm being like everyone else. But a great leader is always going to contribute in whatever way they can. And so I always try and view myself, I am a leader, therefore I'm a contributor. I will contribute to whatever situation I am in, versus being like, what is everyone else going to provide me right now? How is everyone going to show up for me? How is everyone going to affect my mood, affect my day today? Versus, can I contribute to the situation that I'm in? And it could be at work, it could be in a meeting, it could be at a social event, it could be at a wedding, could be at a party, could be in the store, could be, in an interaction with someone at Starbucks. Are you trying to view yourself as a leader in that interaction and lead them to, a more positive interaction? Or you're just like, I'll set my tone based on how, however they show up. If you view yourself as a leader, you're going to always try and guide, a good leader, at least you're going to try and guide people towards the light, towards the positive side of things. And my ultimate goal is to always view myself as a leader, because then I'm held to a much higher standard. And that's why it's very hard, to be a leader. And I think, there's a verse in the Bible, I think Jesus says that even, he's like, let those who are leaders be few, because you'll be judged much more harshly. Because then if you're a leader, also people will judge you harshly. And you got to think about that with like influencers and famous people. Like, they make a mistake and they're on blast. Like, they're put on blast bad because people view them as a leader. People look up to them, so they're judged much more harshly. When in our everyday lives, like if, someone else did the same thing, and just be like, okay. But instead they're going to get ridiculed and, just punished for being a human and making a mistake. So it's definitely a harder route to go, to view yourself as a leader. But I believe that I'm here to, be the best version of myself that I can possibly be. And if that means, putting myself in the position of always being a leader, then I'm here for it. So get out there, view yourself as a leader, and lead. Thank you for listening. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, I would greatly appreciate if you could share this episode with 5 people you think could benefit from the show. Also, please feel free to connect with me on Instagram at Izi Chinchay, or my website at izichinchay.com. Thank you so much for being you. Keep being a leader and making this world a better place.